Hey, what's up, Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Masters? Yeah, this video is about you. And are you a real DM? Well, we're going to find out. I'm going to ask you some questions, and depending on your answers, that will tell me and everyone else if you're a real Dungeon Master. If a player makes a character in your game, and pretty much as far as you're concerned breaks the game by steamrolling over traps or encounters or what have you, who is responsible for that? The player, the game, or you, the Dungeon Master? Every edition of Dungeons and Dragons in some way is broken. If that broken piece affects your game, makes it hard for you to run a smooth game, the broken element is obvious. Who is responsible for that? The players, the game, or the Dungeon Master? When I was younger, when I first got into the hobby, I never heard anyone try to promote rules as written by degrading people doing what they want, making their own stuff, right? Coming up with their own ideas. But what has changed in 2023? Why are so many people that promote rules as written trying to degrade the idea of people doing what they want with the game? Like they're not as good as people that run it or play it raw. Well, the hobby went online and many more people met each other in the hobby. And groups started forming of like-minded people and rejecting people that they don't agree with. It's easier. You have your own little community. I don't need Jack to come in and say what he thinks if we all don't agree with him. Let's just get along and have fun. Attitudes like that started up. But then many deceitful people will just use these groups to reject other opinions and then push agendas. And it's just because they want to push that their way of playing the game is better than yours, because it's all about feeding the ego. But we run into an issue, because WotC, Wizards of the Coast, they want people to play the game in the book as it is. And what they do is they ride the back of stuff like this. The idea that raw is good. And the mindset of most of their players leads their players to wanting raw, rules as written, because then they can, force what they want, get what they want. And we try to reject that idea. We tell 5e people all the time they should just do what they want. That's how you free yourself of the market. That's how you free yourself of control, is being creative and open and willing to change things that are broken. But it doesn't help when you go back to the old school in 2023 and you find groups in there that are saying doing what you want is bad, it's not as good as people that play the game rules as written. All it does is enforce a mindset in the 5e area of the hobby that we are trying to reject, period. And when you check most people that actually say they run it raw, there's always minor changes, and any minor change means you're really not doing it raw at all. And I look at the responsibility. If there is something broken in the game, and there's a broken element in all D&D games, well, are you responsible to fix that broken element, make it work? Yes, and if you're not doing that, I think you're not a good Dungeon Master. You're not a real Dungeon Master. I'll put that on your head. Why not? If you're not going to do the proper job, why should I say you're the real thing? And it is your responsibility. If the game is allowing a player to make a broken character that, messes up your game, it's not the game's fault. It's not the player's fault. It's the Dungeon Master's responsibility to go fix that and make it work, period. And if you're not doing that, you're not a real Dungeon Master. You're a pretend stand-in. Being creative and making your own stuff is a core element of the old school section of the hobby, and anyone who tries to downplay that in that section is either uninformed, deceitful, and at worst, stupid. If you don't believe me that doing as you please isn't a core element of the old school part of the tabletop role-playing game hobby, look at the OSR. It proves to you that there is no path forward to introducing our games to new players through raw. If you want new people to see these games, the old styles, and everything else, you need people to do what they want, bring new elements to it, bring new ideas to it so they can freshen it up for that new audience. Because the new audience isn't watching the movies we watched, back in the 80s and 70s. They're watching something else. But the old game is still terrific, but many of them won't touch it because they don't like the old, elements, the old movies. They're not into that stuff. That's not what they're buying. So you need new ideas and fresh ideas to come in that say, okay, let's take the game, let's take the rules and just separate it from some of this old stuff and apply it to some new entertainment. So people once again will be interested in trying these old ideas and make them new again. But if you try to do that with Raw, there is no path. Like, you can't change Raw. The whole point of Raw is sticking to everything by the book as it says. No adjustments at all. So if you stick to Raw, if all the players and dungeon masters in one part of the hobby said, okay, we're going to go to AD&D first edition and just nothing else, you're going to kill AD&D, and you're going to kill the old school part of the hobby. You're going to destroy it, right? It's going to die out. Anyway, for now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.